Alright, we are back for part 2, finishing off our review of WWE Crown Jewel 2022. Last finished off talking about the OC versus Judgment Day in that 6-man tag match. And we move on to a sort of throwback spectacle match, sir, as we get Braun Strowman versus Omos.
This is our third meaty match and the meatiest of all three.
Yeah, we get big ol' Omos taking on Braun Strowman, who makes Braun Strowman look small in comparison to him.
Goodness gracious. It's the monster amongst monsters versus the, what are they calling Omos nowadays? The Nigerian Giant.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so, like I said, a bit of a throwback spectacle match as you get your two biggest competitors facing off in a match that the Saudi crowd definitely enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, they did all the, big spots. The story being told here, right, was that Braun Strowman wanted to do this sort of scoop slam, the Hogan Andre slam on Omos, couldn't get him up, tried multiple times. It was something he was going to keep going after.
Yeah, and that was sort of the whole build. They did a nice job of building to that moment where, it's like, can he get him up? Can he get him up? Kind of like the Hogan Andre match where, you keep trying, you're not getting it. And it was a sort of nice little throwback to that time.
How do you think Omos looked?
I honestly want to say this is probably the best he's looked in his entire run that we've had him here in the WWE.
MVP wasn't there for reasons that he was very upfront about in interviews. But I think without him there, right, Omos really is talking for himself, doing a little jaw jacking. And he looked maybe the most confident, I think, for sure, in the few matches we've seen him in. I've seen him in because I don't watch Raw.
Yeah, and especially there was a lot of points where, much like the main event, you heard Omos smack talking Braun Strowman, and a lot of people were saying, "Hey, he's smack talking him pretty well," and I guess he was doing it well enough that I saw a couple people questioning why MVP's with him and not let the big man talk on his own. But
interesting.
I don't know if I'd go that far with some.
Yeah. I caught myself thinking this, Jack. I wondered, is this a passing of a torch that Braun never had? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This seemed like, a new giant versus, an older giant, but Braun isn't that old. And you think, is like Braun was never the big guy. They never let him be the big guy,
Yeah.
This match would mean more to a lot more people if Braun was able to do more in his time than his first run.
Yeah. But, as we get to the finishing point of the match, obviously there's a lot of big man spots, a lot of, basically feats of strength. You finally get the point where Strowman is able to pick up Omos and slam him and gets the 3 count, which some people were surprised by.
I certainly was, because I was thinking, I'm like, how is Braun going to pass the torch he never had? And then he beats him and he's like, he wasn't. Got it.
Yeah, and so I saw a lot of different people enjoyed it, glad that they liked this little throwback of a match. Like I said, the Saudi crowd definitely enjoyed it. Braun Strowman clearly knows nothing about letting people enjoy the type of wrestling they enjoy, though.
What did he say to that? Oh, you're talking about his Twitter game on that plane ride? The guy's all liquored up, and he's teasing the fans, huh?
Yeah, oh my gosh. What an absolute funny, but yet just... I don't even have the words to describe the sort of tirade he went on that day and the day after, but man, was it just too funny that, it was like he had a match that people were buzzing about, talking about, and the first thing he thought was to start talking about other people's enjoyance of wrestling.
Yeah. I think that holds him. I think that's maybe gotten him in trouble before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Braun.
Yeah, and gosh, hold on. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up real quickly, but Braun's tirade was so crazy that it got me to agree with a statement from Will Ospreay of all people.
Oh boy, what do you say?
I'm trying to find. Oh gosh, I know I saw it, but basically, like Ospreay was telling him, people are like. He kind of told them kind of what I said, where it was like people were congratulating him on his match and all that, and he still wasn't content with that. He still like decided to go out and target other people and their interests, and it was like he was basically calling them foolish for it because he was like, no one's calling out the people that enjoyed your match for enjoying it. Why are you now doing the reverse situation?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
I was just playing, y'all. I'm just giving Twitter something to talk about. I love y'all, flipping floppers, I'm parroting his voice that I've seen on an Instagram post where he's talking about his Waffle House order. We all in the same business. Oh, Braun.
Yeah, it was definitely such an odd thing to see, but like, I don't know, it was like, it was just so out of nowhere to me that it was like, why now, out of all times, are you like saying all this?
He said it. He was drunk on that plane. That's what happened. He's got a long old flight back home. My man really needs to control his narrative better. But
oh man.
Here we go. We got our next match. It's a unified tag team championship match. The Usos. They the ones. They're out there. Jack, I guess it's okay that they can fly to Saudi Arabia, but they can't fly to the UK. But they're out there to defend their tag team championships against Rich Holland, Butch, the Brawling Brutes.
Yeah. Nice little sort of, I guess if you want, I don't know, I don't keep up with SmackDown or Raw, so I don't know if this match is happening or not, but, nice, fresh name for the Usos to face off against.
Yeah, and there's no Sami. Sami doesn't travel to Saudi Arabia for reasons. And I don't know if you saw the press conference. I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw the best part. The whole crowd chanting at the bloodline, right? We want Sami. And I'm sure at this point they've also been cheering for Logan Paul, right?
Yeah.
But they got some big old "We want Sami" chants. Did you hear what Roman told them?
You don't deserve Sami.
Oh, that was so good. Oh. Jack, you can just put your arms to it and you can feel that heat. Mm-hmm. On a cold winter afternoon. Yes, sir.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, if you want to say, because I can't remember if cheating tactics were used, but since Sami is not there, wait. Was Sikoa there? That's what I'm trying to remember now. Because I was going to say something about...
I don't think we see him in this match.
Yeah, so I was going to say, no complaints from my dad probably about interference, or at least outside interference, because neither Sami nor Sikoa were there.
Yeah, it was a pretty even fight most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. There was... what's it called? There was the point where the Usos were threatening to leave their match and take the
count out, yeah.
And that's when Butch runs over and stops them.
Rich Holland paying tribute to Sheamus, who is recovering from his wedding with the old beats of the Bodum.
Yeah, and then what's it called? You get that point where he also catches Jimmy midair, but then he gets super kicked right afterwards. And then I'm trying to remember more points, but then I just know, after that super kick, they hit that double splash, and you think it's about to end, but that's when Rich Holland comes in to make the save after they did their double splash on Butch.
Yeah.
And then you get the fans start chanting Usi at Jay. And he gets so annoyed by it that he almost lets up in the match and almost loses the titles for the Usos. And another thing I forgot to mention was at the start they mentioned that Jay had injured his arm or hand, if I remember correctly, like going into this match. So
I don't remember hearing that, but this is a match, Jack, where I might be doing more than one thing, besides watching the show. But I've got my corner of my eye on this one.
Yeah, and then that's when you get what's it called? The 1D for the Usos to retain and extend their title reign.
The Avalanche 1D. This is a big one. Yeah. I don't know if it's... I think it's Jay from, the second turnbuckle. Falls into the 1D and the waiting arms of Jimmy. Yeah, to put away Butch.
Yeah. And now they're looking towards the New Day, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods.
That's going to be a big old match.
Yeah, because it's to
because the record for longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions is basically on the line.
Yeah, definitely a lot of interesting stuff that could happen there. And as always, when those two teams meet, it's usually a good match. So a lot to expect out of it. But we move on to another sort of sequence of matches, and that is the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair facing off against Bayley once again, this time in a last woman standing match.
I don't know if I've missed any big drone artworks, but I saw Bianca's. They have big old lips in the air made up of drones.
Yeah, that one looked real nice as well. But so, last woman standing, a lot of sort of expectation, again, like a lot of stipulation matches where people are like, okay, we know a lot of these have happened, so how are you going to be, I guess, if you want to say creative enough to, if you want to say remake the wheel, but at the same time not get overly convoluted to the point where the spots fail.
I'm not going to lie. I have now grown to expect that of Bayley in stipulation matches now. She's just going to be a real try-hard about these things. And you know how Sasha Banks was all about paying homage to Eddie Guerrero? Who's Bianca? I mean, who's Bayley always, who used to pay homage to?
Who was she? Why am I'm blanking?
The tassels, the elbow. Come on now.
Oh, is it Macho Man?
Correct. The man who was also super uber possessive of every detail of his match. So I think she's doing a fine job of it.
Oh, man. But yeah, because you see them immediately try and get everything they can to use. A ladder, a kendo stick, steel chairs, the steps, the ringside steps. What's it called?
Jack, I'm going to tell you right now, I fell asleep during this match. Not because it was a boring match. I just having a big old breakfast. It was Saturday morning, and then, I made it through most of it.
I will say the same thing, too, that I had to end up rewatching this event because I trying so desperately early on that Saturday to sit through the whole thing was not enough because my body wanted more sleep.
I was just real cozy. I got real cozy, and yeah, this one I missed the most. There was a bit with a golf cart that I don't think went as well as they wanted it to.
I saw that, and the part that kind of, if you want to say, made the match kind of go to a point of improvising was there was kind of a spot where Bayley sort of fell off the ramp, and it looked like she really kind of tweaked her ankle on there.
Oof.
But then they kind of turned that into, her using it as a distraction on Belair to blindside her. So,
yes, you know what? I think Jack from Cultaholic called it playing possum. Like, they all watching the show thought she was actually hurt when she, lures Bianca Belair in, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I'm trying to remember more portions of the match, but, they're using as much of an arsenal as they can, even getting, the kendo sticks basically to a breaking point. And the sort of, I guess you could say, funniest part was that the sort of ending where, Bianca does her offense on Bayley, and she sticks her inside a ladder and pushes the ladder underneath the turnbuckle so that it cannot be opened up to get her out of. Except the funny part is you see Bayley obviously trying to make it seem worse than it is, but you can clearly see her crawling out successfully. And you're just like, how do you not get out before the 10 count? Like, I get what they were going with the spot, but it ended up not working as well because of the fact of, like, it was kind of obvious to just kind of how to get out of it,
Yeah. It was, as Bleacher Report shares, it was a unique way to finish the bout, but it would have been better if one of them had gotten a more definitive victory by doing enough damage to earn a real 10 count. So we've seen, Jack, people get real creative with these things, right? John Cena taping Batista's feet together, And yeah, I think we're long overdue for one of these matches to end with somebody just dead, or incapacitated, passed out. I don't think you got to go all the blood, but I do think you can definitely, nullify somebody's motor skills.
Yeah. So, very
just 10 KODs to the point where Bayley just can't get out.
Yeah, definitely. As we kind of, as you said, come to expect with Bayley in these stipulation matches, a lot of sort of potential with the spots that they go with, but they're not really guaranteed to fully go through.
But, well.
Yeah, but, from all accounts, I heard people say they really enjoyed this match, and,
Bleacher Report gave it an A-.
Yeah, so.
Sorry I missed it. I'm looking ahead. I'm looking back at the grades. I think that match is the highest graded match so far.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Or would you give another match that we've talked about sort of the mantle of best of the night?
So far, I think I would probably say I agree with it. Probably that or the tag title match, maybe. But the men's tag title match. But
of course,
for the most part, I would agree with it. But it's not anything wowing, I guess you could say. It's not gonna make any end of the year list for me. But it was good for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I got you. Hey, Jack, how much time we got?
26 minutes.
Okay, because what happens next is Bray Wyatt comes out for the live crowd. Cuts a promo he's been doing on SmackDown recently, just talking about how good it is, how good it feels to be his normal self, his true self. Bray Wyatt, right? And then he gets interrupted like he has been the last couple of weeks by a creepy video. And I wondered what your thoughts were about the creepy video. What do you think? You want to talk about that video and what's happening with Bray now or after the main event?
I think we could talk about it now.
Okay. What you thinking about what's going on?
I'm definitely struggling to get a grasp on it because I don't know if they're really going the route of, is it someone else? Is it all these different personalities and alter egos of Wyatt himself? It's really sort of a struggle because so far a lot of the promos have been about himself, and so you just kind of wonder what is the whole approach that we're going with here, especially because I think the one thing people kind of forget and have to remember at the end of the day, this is wrestling and all the conclusions have to happen in the ring for the most part,
Yeah. Cultaholics Ross pointed out that the figure in the video, Uncle Howdy, he's creepy and he's cool, but that's with all the editing and the quick cuts and the lighting, right? What is that going to look like in a live setting in the ring? Because he says that mask has a lot of Oz to it, which is very funny. Do you remember Oz from WCW?
Yeah.
The plastic, old man mask on top of a real person's face. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and again, because it has to happen in a wrestling ring, this isn't like a movie where you can do prosthetics and face paint. Because if you try and do that in a match, we've seen with Finn Balor and the Demon, a lot of that starts to wear off the moment you get 5-10 minutes into that match.
As far as I can tell, and I'm going to tell you what I think, but then I'm going to tell you what big, what's it called? What's the thing you say in a movie that makes everything not make sense? Not a roadblock.
A plot hole?
A plot hole. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to tell you where the big plot hole is for me. Because it definitely sounds like Bray is talking to himself or some version of himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've seen people sort of pontificate this, and you think that's interesting. Kind of like Kane versus old Kane,
Yeah.
It's Bray versus some version of himself he's trying to keep at bay. I'm me, and this is really great being me, but oh no, I'm being haunted by some other me, right?
Yeah.
One version of me that maybe has had more control recently. And he's like, yeah, and you there's more to you than you claim, that southern voice says. And so I'm all about that, except, Jack, when we saw him at Extreme Rules come through that Brody Lee door, he was wearing that mask. He was wearing that curly mustache mask.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that information?
Yeah. I'm definitely sort of confused on where all of this is going, definitely.
He's getting big old reactions, and he's selling a bunch of merchandise. I don't know what other people see or think, but yeah, I'm still waiting and seeing.
Yeah. Because, I just can't emphasize it as much that, that, I'm interested, obviously, in the story he's telling, but I am kind of worrisome and skeptical about what all goes down in ring,
Yeah, right.
Because this is no offense to Bray Wyatt. He's a wonderful performer and one of the most creative minds we've had in the current generation. But if it's stories he wanted to tell, he should have looked towards the movie industry, Or let me word it more politely. If it was stories he wanted to tell without having to worry about translating it in the wrestling aspect, he could have done it with movies, And
I'll tell you where this might go and where it could go and where it could thrive. If it's Bo Dallas, after all, and they fight and they have better chemistry than brothers of the past, this can actually go really well. All right, Uncle Howdy, you, me in the middle of the ring with Jack Doan here refereeing. Let's go. And, they tear the house down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He starts beating up the old man in the mask. Because, Bo can go. But we've seen the Hardys, and we've seen, who else have we seen? Oh, who else have we seen fight that you're like, how come you suck?
Trying to think of some siblings.
Kane and The Undertaker, they never had a good match. Brett and Owen were the only ones that I think made anything out of anything that they did together.
We've never seen Jay and Jimmy face off.
And I bet if we did, it'd be like, that's interesting. You think this would have gone better. But, if it ends up being Bo, if it's like a separate person from him, we'll see where they go with this. We'll see where they go. Surely nothing else on this show is going to cause me to overthink things more, right? Oh no, it's Roman Reigns defending the greatest championship in the sport against a man who's had 2 matches.
Yeah, we are here with Roman defending the title that he's held for 2 years at this point. On today, I believe it is 800 something, or 800 days, he's held it for that long. Going against Logan Paul, YouTuber, content creator, whatever you want to refer to him as, turned wrestler.
Jack, let me go down the list of reasons why I'm worried. Why I'm watching on Saturday morning, now I'm awake and I'm sweating. Okay? Would they put the belt on Logan Paul? Let me count the ways. 1, they've been selling the fact that he's got metal in his hand like he's a modern-day Lex Luger. 2, Paul Heyman's turned on everybody he's ever been associated with, including himself. 3, there's no Sami Zayn to help. 4, Logan Paul's brother is going to be there, Jack. What's he there for, Jack? 5, they're in a different country that paid them a lot of money to do anything they want, and I'm worried, Jack. I'm worried.
I feel you on that, especially because of all the stuff that happened in this match.
And I'll tell you what, Jack. Looking back at the match, I'm not mad. Pat McAfee got me real worked up because how is he going to go toe-to-toe with the longest reigning NXT champion like he did against Adam Cole? I think Logan Paul never looked like he belonged. He did a lot of cool things. He didn't do anything that felt like was out of his league, you know?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of this, there were some stuff that he pulled off that you were like, wow, but at the same time you were like, well, with proper training, it makes sense why he was able to pull it off,
Yeah, you got a guy trained by Shawn Michaels. Okay, you look pretty good for a guy who was trained by one of the best ever.
Yeah.
But we weren't getting, Code Reds, Canadian Destroyers, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What's it called? I think the most impressive part was how much he did do after getting injured in the match, which really goes to show how much training these wrestlers go through, because you mentioned, this is only his second match, and sure, he's probably been training for this match for a long time, but there's a difference in training, normally training, and training through experience of wrestling, where your body gets used to a lot of this stuff and can endure it. And very clearly Logan Paul's couldn't endure it because he ended up tearing, I believe he said, his ACL, MCL, and potentially his meniscus.
Out for 9 months, Jack. And what do you think? Did you hear the same thing I heard, that it was on the, of all moves, the buckshot lariat that he hit?
I heard about that, and then I heard two different things. I heard it was on that one, but then I also heard it was on the spot through the table ringside. But I don't really know.
I got you. Let's talk about that spot again, though. Roman is laid out on the table because it's been a night for him. And Logan Paul, with a cell phone in his hand, goes up to the ring. Have you seen the video, Jack, from the phone?
Yeah.
Logan yells, "You're going viral, Roman!" And it's a frog splash on Roman Reigns, who's on the Saudi announce table with the phone in his hand.
Yeah, one of the craziest things, well, not really. I know we've seen people do the whole camera stick before, but still crazy to see him get that far. Not a lot of people would get the height or distance required for a spot like that. I mean, we've seen even, bringing up Shawn Michaels, we've seen Shawn Michaels many times not even make that spot.
Goodness.
So, he gets it, but that it was either that or the buckshot where he gets injured and he wrestles the rest of the match. But it does go a bit long, I will say that. But you get a portion where Reigns is beating down Paul and he starts calling out other YouTubers such as
Jack,
KSI
I was so
and Mr.
mad
Beast.
at that point. I'm so mad. I'm like, quit saying their name. Don't mention them by name, because what's going to happen, Jack?
They're gonna show up.
Same thing with that Beth Phoenix hair. You're gonna. It's like Beetlejuice. They're gonna come because you said their name.
Oh man, but yeah. So they still go back and forth a bit. There's even a bunch of near counts. You have Logan Paul hitting well, he's gonna hit the Sweet Chin Music on Roman, but he gets countered into a Uranagi, which Michael Cole said. Kind of starts teasing, again, teasing for the future. He mentions the rock bottom,
Can you imagine The Rock coming back saying you couldn't even put Logan Paul away with it?
Yeah.
Hey, and what was up with Logan Paul jumping up at 1 on every one of those counts, in the first half of the match? Kicking out at 1. Who does he think he is?
He's going into a business for himself as a...
Goodness gracious. Hey, how about, so the Usos come out, right, and they start beating up Logan Paul's friends?
Mm-hmm.
That looks stiff as heck.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I'm like, who did they upset? They weren't even in the ring. They pulled him over that barricade and they made it look real.
Yeah. My goodness, did they do a whole lot. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, definitely was interesting to see all the people that got involved, especially because, like you mentioned earlier, Jake Paul even comes out. And you're
to
just
music?
Like, yeah, to music too. And everyone was just so surprised by all that happened.
Sola Sokoa gets music and an entrance.
Very, very busy night, at least for the main event.
Yeah. We are long into the evening. Logan Paul he jumps over the ropes onto the Usos because they're about to attack his brother from behind, right? Goes back in the ring. Who's awaiting for him? Only, Roman Reigns in spear position.
And, Roman gets the W, but definitely worried.
No, he hit the Superman punch. And then he went for the spear. And I'm glad it only took one.
Yeah, and definitely...
My faith in humanity in this fictional world we both have invested so much time and money and effort in is restored.
Yeah, and definitely had a lot of people worried because they were like, what is going on? How is so much of this happening, But so he retains, and now we look towards War Games. And like how I said, interesting to kind of know about or to think about, what's gonna happen, who's getting involved, and who's
the Bloodline versus the Logan Paul entourage.
I would not be surprised.
I'd hate that so much. All of them. Ugh.
Definitely.
Unless the Angry Video Game Nerd or Matt Pat were a part of the team. Game Grumps. I'd love to see them be a part of this.
Yeah, oh man, but you just kind of question.
Yeah, you have a YouTube channel. What if you get roped into this?
Yeah, what if Roman calls out Dom? Actually, wait. We got enough people for War Games.
What are you talking about? You mean you, Dom, me, and your brother or Gio?
Yeah.
Yes, us. We are against the Bloodline.
I don't know. I think Dom gets a couple licks in on Roman.
That'd be incredible. Absolutely incredible.
But it definitely is just real interesting to see where they go with this Roman title reign after all this,
Yeah, because one thing we haven't talked a lot about, because it hasn't had a big presence on the premium live events, is Sami. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? How possible is it that Sami is the one that dethrones Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table?
To me, in a perfect world, that is exactly what happens. Because
love that.
I have been Sami Zayn's number one supporter since like 2012, 2013, and have been rooting for the guy, and have been absolutely heartbroken anytime he's gotten injured because I know it just derails any plans they've had for him. And then they gave him the IC title just for COVID to happen, and he doesn't show up until halfway through the year, and he gets a decent reign, but then,
More than titles, what I'm super excited by is how much mic time, how much air time, and how much, character he's had with the Bloodline. You know? It's like, so you know how Karrion Kross, lost that match because of his over-reliance on Scarlett, right? It'd be an incredible end to the story that Roman's downfall is his own blindness to Sami or his own bravado against Jay, Yeah. That was such a good segment.
Yeah. And
Sami's got to win the Rumble. And at some point between Rumble and Mania, he's gotta we gotta play the will he, won't he, lay down,
I got the
Turns
perfect
on the bloodline.
I got the perfect booking for this because I've seen people think about it because they're obviously like, oh well, someone's got to win the Rumble to challenge Roman, but at the same time, we need to set up a Roman between Rock match. And again, like I'll keep saying, it doesn't need the title, as everyone keeps saying. So I got the perfect booking. Sami Zayn wins the Rumble, and because Roman wants him to lay down, he convinces him to use the Rumble shot, not at Mania, but at Elimination Chamber, because that is going to be in Canada. Specifically, I believe it's going to be in Montreal, I think.
No kidding.
So you have Zayn use his shot in Canada, and you could have him beat him there. But the one thing I saw, this booking that I saw someone propose does have him beat him there, but it's also interesting because it helps set up Mania. Much like Stone Cold helped out Mankind, you have The Rock run in and help Zayn overcome Roman Reigns for the title in Canada, thus separating Reigns so he can go off and have his Mania match with The Rock and not having to worry about Sami beating Roman in Canada and having to face the Royal Rumble winner because he was the Royal Rumble winner, uses his shot there, and then he can defend it against whoever at Mania. But
that's how Eddie Guerrero won the title, but Goldberg in The Rock's place.
That was another one I saw someone reference too, was having The Rock be, the Stone Cold Goldberg sort of interference guy for the win. And it would just be funny because, of course, it happens at the pay-per-view that's in between Rumble and Mania.
Yeah. I hate it. I hate just how much I want it, and I know I'm not going to get it,
Yeah, that's exactly my thinking. The moment I saw that booking and then added in my own part about have Sami win the Rumble, and because he's peer pressured by Roman to not use the shot and Mania uses it at the next pay-per-view, I just started thinking more about it. I'm like, it's so perfect. Sammy's so over with these fans. It would just work, but I know they're not going to do it. I know they're not going to go with Zayn.
Golly gee. Wish we were going to WrestleMania now.
Oh, man. But they got a handful of people.
I just confirmed Elimination Chamber 2023 is happening in Montreal. That place would melt. That place would melt into the ground. It would flood the streets of Montreal with stadium cement and human remains.
Oh my god, yeah. I can only imagine what would happen if Sami Zayn were to actually win the title in that building. Because let me just double check.
Gracious. This company is allergic to money.
Especially because I saw apparently they were actually planning to speed up the Sami sort of betrayal early on and do, I guess, a storyline where him and Kevin Owens go after the Usos.
Yeah.
Which I guess is good. Not as good as the Roman stuff, but they put a halt to it because of how over Sami has gotten with the fans through the Bloodline segments.
If McMahon was still here, we would have gotten that Owens story by hell or high water. But Triple H is a guy still has his hearing, so he's like, "Hey, I think they're chanting Sami Uso."
Yeah, and I think the thing that especially made them put a halt to it was the segment where they ripped off the shirt from him and they made it seem like they were finally kicking him out, only for Roman to be like, I want you to wear this shirt instead, and it's the honorary Uso shirt.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of people, like how you mentioned earlier in part one, they got a lot of people that can challenge Roman. They could do a quick match with Bobby. There's obviously, even though they don't utilize them much in that scene, they still have AJ. They still have...
Yes, they do.
They could do another Kevin Owens match if they want to.
They certainly can.
They got a Sheamus match that they can do, which it seems like they were building towards when they
because you got Brawling Brutes that can fill up half a War Games match.
Yeah. So
and Sheamus can say he's beaten Roman Reigns before.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of interesting stuff. And before I forget, because I haven't mentioned it so far, the one thing I was supposed to mention that my dad brought up was he was wondering if they were piping in noise for this Saudi show, because there was a point, I think it was in that Roman and Logan match when he did the frog splash, where the crowd starts chanting "Holy bleep," and my dad looks at me and goes, "Do we really think the Saudi crowd would chant that? That feels more like piped in audio."
Bleacher Report, I think, made a comment about that specific chant. I've got the page up. Let me find it. But you're right. You're like, actually, that doesn't align with their customs and beliefs, I don't think, to say something that specific.
Yeah, that was the thing that got my dad, was he was like, I don't think that's actual audio. That might be piped in audio.
You know what? I think he actually brings it up. The Bleacher Report reporter, I'm going to give him a shout out right now. He actually brought it up in the Drew McIntyre Karrion Kross cage match in reference to the superplex from the top of the cage. Kross is almost over. Drew got him and suplexed him back into the ring. He says it produced a surprising holy S chant from the crowd. He didn't seem convinced that it was fake.
I don't know. The world may never know.
Chris Mueller. That's what he says.
The world may never know. But
goodness. Let
me just double check, because I want to make sure that I get this information correct before we sign off with about 3 minutes left.
Excellent.
Survivor Series, I believe this year is November 26th. That is a Saturday. So... Thanksgiving will take place. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to interfere with any days on Thanksgiving when it comes to us recording and, not having the time set aside for it. But we should be in the clear for this pay-per-view.
Sounds good, sir. Saturday, November 26th. If all goes well, I'll be in the state of Idaho celebrating the holiday with my brother.
All right. Well, then you just let me know when you are back, or even if you're
I'll be back before the 28th because school's back in session for 3 more weeks and I ready mid-year testing. Let's go. We ready. I ready.
All right, sir. I wish you and your students the best of luck during that time.
Thank you, and likewise, because I know that final seasons is right around the corner.
Yes. But until next time, I've been Jack, joined by my fellow guests.
It's Mr. Solis with his whirling laptop.
Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. As always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we will catch you on the next episode.